The Galactic Council chamber was unlike anything most species had ever seen, a colossal dome filled with light and shadow. Floating platforms where delegates from countless star systems gathered, each representing a world with its own history, culture, and way of life. For centuries, this council had been the heart of galactic diplomacy, a place where disputes were settled with words, alliances were forged through endless discussion, and war was kept at bay by the patient art of negotiation. But today, a heavy tension filled the air, heavier than any before. The Council was meeting to address a rising threat at the outer edge of known space, a region where new colonies had pushed too close to the borders of older, powerful empires. The delegates sat in silence as the humans' envoy entered, Commander Alina Voss, a figure both respected and feared in galactic circles. The room watched in quiet anticipation as she approached the central podium, the faint hum of technology and whispered voices fading to stillness. Then, without hesitation or the usual diplomatic preamble, Alina announced a declaration that shattered the Council's expectations. Humanity was ending all diplomatic ties with other civilizations. There would be no more negotiations, no more formal meetings or treaties. Instead, humans would rely only on themselves, their own strength, and direct action to resolve conflicts or defend their interests. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap, and for a moment, the entire assembly seemed frozen, unable to comprehend the boldness of this move. Delegates exchanged uneasy glances, some whispering nervously to their neighbors, others staring at Alina with disbelief. The ancient traditions of diplomacy, the slow and careful dance of words and promises, were being dismissed outright by a species that until recently had been considered newcomers. Alina's calm and steady voice continued as she explained that humanity had grown tired of endless talks that often led nowhere, that the galaxy needed a new way, one where actions spoke louder than words, and where strength was shown through results, not rhetoric. She made it clear that humans were prepared to defend themselves and their colonies without hesitation, but were also ready to help where their power could bring swift solutions. The council chamber buzzed with a mixture of shock, fear, and curiosity. Some delegates whispered about the potential chaos this could unleash, fearing that humanity's rejection of diplomacy might spark conflicts no one was prepared for. Others wondered if this new approach could, in some strange way, force the galaxy to rethink the very foundations of peace and cooperation. The tension grew as the council's chair struggled to regain control, calling for calm and urging delegates to consider the implications carefully. The damage was done. The old order had been challenged, and the council was left grappling with a future that suddenly felt uncertain and unpredictable. Throughout it all, Alina Voss stood firm, embodying the human spirit, unyielding, and ready to face whatever came next, without the safety net of diplomacy to catch them. The announcement was more than a policy shift. It was a statement of humanity's arrival as a force unlike any the galaxy had seen before, and as the delegates left the chamber that day, their minds swirled with questions no one yet had answers to. What would this mean for peace? Could the galaxy survive without its oldest tradition? Most importantly, was humanity about to change the future forever? As the news of humanity's bold decision to end all diplomatic relations spread across the galaxy, it sent shockwaves through star systems near and far, stirring a complex mix of confusion, fear, intense curiosity among countless civilizations. Many species had always viewed humans as unpredictable, sometimes reckless, sometimes mysterious, but now this new stance revealed a side of humanity that no one had truly expected. Fearless and unyielding in their will to stand alone if necessary. Across the many worlds of the Galactic Council, leaders and citizens alike began to question everything they thought they knew about humans. Old stories of human stubbornness took on new meaning, while speculative debates erupted in council chambers, marketplaces, and social hubs. What did it mean for the fragile peace that had lasted for centuries? Could a single species really change the rules so drastically without plunging the galaxy into chaos? Meanwhile, far from the diplomatic halls and speculation, humanity itself was not idle. With a clear focus and renewed energy, humans accelerated their expansion into new territories, but this time with a different approach, one that showed The galaxy, how humans valued efficiency, resilience, and readiness above all else. New fleets launched with quiet precision, equipped with cutting-edge technology that combines speed, defense, and the ability to adapt quickly to any situation. Human scientists and engineers unveiled innovations that impressed even the most. Advanced alien minds, blending simplicity with power in ways that made old weapons and strategies look outdated. Along the contested borders, small skirmishes began to break out, brief encounters where human forces swiftly responded to provocations or incursions without escalating into full-scale war. Their methods were startlingly different. Retaliating with brute force or dragging out negotiations, humans acted with rapid, targeted measures designed to disable or deter opponents, but not cause lasting harm. These actions left many adversaries stunned and unsure how to respond, caught between relief that full battle had been avoided and fear of what might come next. Rumors spread of human ships appearing suddenly and disappearing just as fast, of defenses that could change shape or strategy in seconds, and of ground forces whose discipline and speed seemed almost unnatural. As these ripples moved outward, alliances within the Galactic Council grew tense, some calling for harsher measures against humanity, while others watched carefully, unsure whether to expect aggression or something entirely new. Meanwhile, within human colonies and command centers, leaders emphasized a philosophy of clear, decisive action backed by strong self-reliance. They prepared not just for defense, but for leadership, ready to demonstrate through results rather than words that humanity's way could bring a different kind of order to the galaxy. Through all this, the question that hovered over every star and station was the same. Would this human refusal to play by the old rules bring destruction? Or could it create a new balance where strength and clarity replaced endless debate? Galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what ripple would turn into a wave in what new future humanity's bold choice would shape. The announcement of humanity's firm rejection of traditional diplomacy sent the Galactic Council into a frenzy, forcing its members to call an emergency session that was unlike any before it. The Grand Hall, usually filled with calm debate and measured discussion, buzzed with urgent whispers, sharp glances, and hurried meetings behind closed doors as representatives from dozens of species poured in. Some looking angry, others fearful, and a few confused. Many voices rose demanding immediate action calls to isolate humanity, restrict their trade routes, and impose strict sanctions that would pressure the humans back into diplomatic talks. These members warned that if humanity's bold new stance was left unchecked, it could unravel the delicate balance of peace that had held the galaxy together for centuries, opening the door to chaos and conflict that no one was ready to face. Yet, amidst the rising tension and harsh demands, a small but growing group of delegates urged the Council to pause and try to understand what motivated humanity. They argued that humans prized strength and independence above all else, and their refusal to participate in endless diplomatic games was not a reckless act, but a deliberate expression of a clear, action-driven mindset. These voices pointed out that humans had already demonstrated their ability to intervene effectively in galactic crises, not by bargaining or sending endless envoys, but by stepping in swiftly and decisively on their own terms, offering help where it mattered most without asking for favors or making empty promises. This pragmatic approach forced the Council to reconsider long-held beliefs about power and influence. The panic within the Council only grew as it became clear that humanity was not bluffing or making an idle threat. Instead, they were redefining what it meant to be a true galactic power, not through alliances or votes, but by showing strength and commitment in a way that others struggled to match. The human presence, once viewed as a minor player, now loomed large, casting a shadow that challenged centuries of tradition and demanded a new way of thinking. Throughout the tense meetings, Council members debated fiercely, struggling to decide whether to confront humanity or find a way to adapt. Behind the scenes, some species quietly reached out to human representatives, hoping to learn more about their intentions and perhaps build relationships outside the official diplomatic channels the humans had rejected. The Council's leaders, realized that they were at a crossroads. The galaxy could either cling to the old ways and risk falling apart, or embrace this new reality shaped by human boldness and clarity. The emergency session ended without a clear resolution, leaving many delegates restless and uncertain. But one thing was certain: humanity had changed the game forever. And the Council's panic was only the beginning of a profound shift that would ripple through the stars for years to come. In the weeks that followed the Council's chaos, something unexpected began to unfold across the stars. Several alien factions, those once wary or even hostile to humanity's abrupt rejection of diplomacy, started reaching out privately to human leaders. These were not formal requests framed in the cautious language of old political games, but straightforward communications from curious and pragmatic minds, intrigued by humanity's boldness and clarity. These factions were tired of endless discussions that yielded little and saw in humanity a new way, a way built on directness, action, and honesty. Slowly, small but powerful alliances began to form, alliances that were not bound by protocols or ceremonies, but forged through shared goals and mutual respect, earned in real moments of cooperation and challenge. These alliances were born on the front lines of crises where humans and aliens worked side by side, solving problems with innovation and a willingness to act decisively, not just talk. As these coalitions grew, it became clear that cooperation could exist beyond the confines of traditional diplomacy, blending human ingenuity, technology, and straightforwardness with the diverse strengths and perspectives of alien cultures. The human leadership, led by Commander Elena Voss and her council, championed this new model openly. They argued that strength and honesty should replace political games and secret deals, urging others in the galaxy to rethink old strategies that had bred suspicion and delay. To humans, the future was about clear commitments backed by capability, about earning trust through deeds rather than promises, and about building partnerships that were honest, efficient, and mutually beneficial. This new approach didn't erase differences but respected them, encouraging open communication and swift resolution of disputes before they could escalate. Meanwhile, whispers of these unlikely alliances spread, stirring a mix of skepticism and hope throughout the Galactic Council and beyond. Some traditionalists feared this could undermine the Council's authority, while others believed it might breathe new life into a stagnant system, inspiring other species to explore fresh ways of working together. Despite the uncertainty, humanity's rise as a catalyst for change was undeniable. Their alliances, though still young, had already begun to shift the balance of power and influence in the galaxy, proving that the old ways were not the only path forward. As these partnerships deepened, they created a ripple effect, encouraging more species to test new forms of cooperation grounded in respect and practical results rather than ceremony. The galaxy, once held captive by endless negotiation and slow-moving politics, found itself awakening to a new one where the strength of character, clarity of purpose, and willingness to act boldly were becoming the currency of true power. Humanity, once isolated and misunderstood, now stood at the center of this transformation, leading by example and reminding the galaxy that sometimes the most unlikely alliances can shape the future in ways no one expected. As time passed, the Galactic Council found itself facing a transformed galaxy, one where the old ways of diplomacy no longer held the same power they once did. The Council, recognizing that resisting the tide would only lead to further conflict, began to adapt to this new reality shaped by humanity's example. While traditional diplomatic customs and rituals still had their place, they were now balanced, with a new model, one that valued straightforward action, clear accountability, and results over endless debate. Humans led the way, spearheading joint missions to address crises swiftly and effectively. Whether it was stabilizing unstable regions, responding to natural disasters on distant planets, or mediating disputes with a combination of clear communication and tangible support. These efforts initially met with suspicion, soon earned grudging respect from many species, and over time, even admiration. The galaxy started to evolve into a more dynamic and action-oriented community, where words mattered but only when backed by decisive deeds. Leaders across star systems began to rethink their strategies. Inspired by humanity's insistence that true power comes from what one is willing and able to do, not merely what one says, this shift brought a renewed sense of purpose and urgency to galactic affairs. Conflicts were no longer prolonged by bureaucratic delays. Cooperation was measured by effectiveness, and promises were judged by follow-through. Humanity, once considered an unpredictable and wild-card presence on the galactic stage, had become a catalyst for a new era of peace and progress. The humans never sought to dominate or impose their will, but instead demonstrated that strength, combined with honesty and clarity, could unite even the most diverse civilizations. The Council's sessions continued, but with a different tone. Debates were sharper, goals clearer, and resolutions quicker. Alien species began adopting some of humanity's principles in their own policies, blending tradition with innovation in ways that strengthened the entire galaxy's stability. Though challenges remained, the galaxy now looked to a future where cooperation was more than just words and where action was the true language of diplomacy. Humanity's choice to end traditional diplomacy had sparked fear and uncertainty at first, but it ultimately reshaped the cosmic order in ways no one could have predicted. The lesson was clear. Sometimes the strongest diplomacy is not found in treaties or speeches, but in showing through one's actions exactly what one is willing to do, and being ready to follow through no matter the cost. This new galactic era, born from human boldness and resolve, promised a future where peace was maintained not just by words, but by the courage to act.